Welcome and Merry Christmas. We're glad to have you join us for our version of that Charles Dickens classic, A Christmas Carol. Now, this is a slightly relaxed version, adapted to suit our Zoom format and give our audience a somewhat different perspective on how this story might be performed. We've stripped away the sets, the props, the dances, and most of the costumes, and even let you see the bare bones production process. What does that leave? The voices. Our cast brings you their rendition of the well-known Dickens characters, reading multiple characters each. Watch and listen as they change from one role to the next, and see how our actors transform right before your eyes and ears to bring these characters to life. So sit back and relax and drop another marshmallow into your hot cocoa and enjoy the Smithfield Little Theatre's presentation of A Christmas Carol. Act 1, Scene 1, The Counting House. Marley was dead to begin with. There's no doubt whatsoever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Scrooge signed it, and Scrooge's name was considered good for any piece of business that he chose to put his hand to. Marley was dead as a doornail. Now, I don't know what there is particularly dead about a doornail. I would think a coffin nail would be a deader piece of iron, but far be it from me to change the expression or the country's done for. So permit me to repeat once again, emphatically, that Marley was dead as a doornail. Scrooge knew he was dead? Of course he did. How could it be otherwise? Scrooge and he had been partners for I don't know how many years. Scrooge was his sole executor, his sole administrator, his sole friend, and the only man who mourned him, if Scrooge can be said to have mourned at all. And the mention of Marley's brings me back to the point that I started from. There is no doubt that Marley was dead. This must be distinctly understood, or nothing wonderful can come of the story that I'm going to relate. There it stood, years afterward, above the warehouse door, Scrooge and Marley. Scrooge never painted out old Marley's name. The firm was known as Scrooge and Marley. Sometimes people new to the business called Scrooge Scrooge, and sometimes Marley, but he answered to both names. It was all the same to him. It was a bitterly cold, and the fog was thick as pea soup on that Christmas Eve of 1843, when Scrooge sat busy in his counting house.
Mr. Cratchit, what are you doing?
The fire's gone cold, Mr. Scrooge. I just thought I might add another piece of coal.
Come over here, Mr. Cratchit. What is this?
A shirt, sir.
And this?
A coat.
These are garments, Mr. Cratchit. Garments were invented by the human race as protection against the cold. Once purchased, they may be used indefinitely for the purpose for which they are intended. Coal burns. Coal is momentary. Coal is costly. There will be no more coal burnt in this office today. Am I quite clear, Mr. Cratchit?
Oh, yes, sir.
Now, please get back to work before I am forced to conclude that your services are no longer needed.
Oh, yes, sir.
As Bob Cratchit returns to his desk, Ebenezer Scrooge's nephew enters, bringing good tidings of the season.
Merry Christmas, Uncle.
What?
I said a Merry Christmas, Uncle, and God save you.
Humbug.
Christmas a humbug, Uncle. Surely you don't mean it.
Of course I mean it. Merry Christmas indeed. What reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough.
Come, uncle, what reason have you to be dismal? You're rich enough.
Away with Merry Christmas. What's Christmas to you but a time for paying bills without money? A time for finding yourself a year older and not an hour richer. If I could work my will, every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled in his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart, he should.
Uncle!
Nephew! Keep questioning, keep Christmas in your own way, and let me keep it in mine.
Keep it? But you don't keep it.
Let me leave it alone then. A lot of good it's done you.
Well, there are many things from which I have benefited, even if they didn't show a profit, I dare say. Christmas among the rest. But if anything belonging to Christmas can be considered apart from the sacred source of its name and origin, I am sure I have always thought of Christmas as a good time, a kind, forgiving, charitable, pleasant time. The only time of year I know of when men and women seem by one consent to open their hearts freely and think of others as if they really were fellow passengers to the grave. And therefore, uncle, though it has never put a scrap of silver nor gold in my pocket, I believe that it has done me good and will do me good. And I say, God bless it.
Air.
Another sound out of you and you'll keep your Christmas by losing your position. You're quite a powerful speaker, Fred. I wonder you don't go into Parliament.
Don't be angry, uncle. Come and dine with us tomorrow.
Dine? I'll see myself in hell first.
But why, uncle?
Why? Let me ask you a question. Why did you get married?
Oh, well, because I fell in love, of course.
Love? You fell in love. Good afternoon, nephew.
But you never came to see me before I married. Why give it as a reason for not coming now?
Good afternoon.
I want nothing from you. I ask nothing of you. Why can't we be friends?
Good afternoon.
I am sorry to find you so resolute. We've never quarreled, you and I. But I came all this way to give you greetings of the season, and I'll keep my Christmas humor to the last. So, a Merry Christmas, Uncle!
Good afternoon.
And a Happy New Year!
Good afternoon.
And a Merry Christmas to you, Bob Cratchit!
Thank you, sir. A Merry Christmas to you.
Well, there, nephew. Here's another fellow, my Clarke, with 15 shillings a week, a wife and a family, talking about a Merry Christmas. A retired bedlam. Good afternoon, nephew.
Scrooge, in letting his nephew out, had let two other people in. They were portly gentlemen, pleasant to behold, and now stood with their hats off in Scrooge's office.
Scrooge and Marley, I believe. Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley?
Marley's dead. In fact, he died 7 years ago this very night.
Oh, I am quite sorry to hear it, but I have no doubt his generosity is well represented by his surviving partner.
At this festive season of the year, Mr. Scrooge, it is more than usually desirable that we should make some slight provision for the poor and the needy, who suffer greatly at the present time. Many thousands are in want of basic needs. Hundreds of thousands are in want of common comforts, sir.
Are there no prisons? Did they disappear?
Oh, no, sir. There are still plenty of prisons.
And the workhouses for the poor still in operation, I assume?
They are. Still, I wish they were not.
The treadmill and the poor law are still in full vigor then?
Yes, very busy, sir.
Oh, well, I was afraid from what you had said that something had stopped them in their useful course. I'm glad to hear it.
Given that they scarcely furnish Christian cheer to the multitude, a few of us are trying to raise a fund to buy the poor some meat and drink and some means of warmth. We chose this time because it is a time above all others where want is keenly felt and abundance rejoices. Now, what shall I put you down for?
Nothing.
Ah, you wish to remain anonymous then?
I wish to be left alone. I don't make merry myself at Christmas, and I can't afford to make idle people merry. I am taxed for the institutions I have mentioned, and they cost enough. Those who are badly off must go there.
But many can't go there, and many would rather die.
Well, they'd rather die. Perhaps they should go ahead and do it and decrease the surplus population. Besides, they wouldn't know anything about it.
Well, you could know it, sir.
It's none of my business. I have too much of my own business to interfere with other people's. Mine occupies me constantly, and I'll thank you to leave me to it. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, sir.
We hope we haven't taken up too much of your time.
Bah! Well, Cratchit, you'll want all day tomorrow, I suppose.
If it's quite convenient, sir.
It's not convenient, but it's not fair. If I was to hold back half a crown for it, you'd think you were being abused, no doubt. And yet you don't think me ill-used when I pay a day's wage for no work.
It's only once a year, sir.
A poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December. Well, I suppose you must have it. Be here all the earlier next morning.
Oh, yes, sir. I shall. I certainly shall.
Well, I am off. Do not close a minute early, Mr. Cratchit.
And a Merry Christmas to you, Mr. Scrooge.
Gah, humbug.
The hours passed, and once the day's work was done, Bob Cratchit closed up the building and went home to gather his son Tim.
Father,
Hello, my dear boy.
Father, I've been waiting for you.
Let's go by Gwaltney and watch the children play. Someday you will be there too, playing with them.
Oh, I feel I'm getting stronger every day.
And do you remember what tomorrow is?
Why, it's Christmas Day.
And I am to have the whole day off to celebrate with my family.
Oh, hurrah for Christmas.
Oh, Scrooge. He was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, he was. A squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching old sinner. Covetous, too, to be sure. Secret, self-contained, and solitary as an oyster. He carried his own low temperature with him everywhere he went. He iced his office in the dog days and didn't thaw at 1 degree at Christmas. Scrooge always took his melancholy tea in the same melancholy tavern, and this night was no different. He read all the papers and beguiled the rest of the evening with his banker's book before he took himself home to bed. He lived in chambers which had once belonged to his deceased partner. They were a gloomy suite of rooms. It was old and dreary, for nobody lived in it but Scrooge, the other rooms being all let out as offices. The fog and frost so hung about the black old gateway of the house that it seemed as if the genius of the weather sat in mournful meditation on the threshold. Tonight the yard was so dark that even Scrooge, who knew its every stone, was fain to grope with his hands. Upon the stoop, Scrooge, having his key in the lock of the door, saw in the knocker not a knocker, but Marley's face.
Ebenezer Scrooge!
Scrooge paused, but for a moment at that ominous salutation. Quickly dismissing it, he entered the house, but was sure to rightly secure the locks behind him. He then proceeded to get his dinner, cold porridge, and the heel of day-old bread. Scene 2, the bedroom.
Scrooge!
Humbug! Humbug! I won't believe it.
Scrooge!
How's this? What do you want with me?
Much.
Who are you?
Ask me who I was.
You are particular for a ghost, all right.
In life,
Were you then?
in life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley.
Ah, I don't believe it. Can you sit down?
Yes, I can.
Do it then.
What evidence would you have of my reality beyond that of your senses?
I don't know.
Why do you doubt your senses?
Because a little thing affects them. A slight disorder of the stomach makes them cheats. You might be an undigested bit of beef, a blot of mustard, a fragment of underdone potato. There's more of gravy than of grave about you, whatever you are. Humbug. I tell you, humbug. Oh, mercy. Oh, a dreadful apparition. Why do you trouble me?
Man of the worldly mind, do you believe in me or not?
I do. I must. But why have you come to me?
It is required of every man that his spirit should walk abroad among his fellow men and travel far and wide. And if that spirit does not go forth in life, it is condemned to do so after in death. And it is doomed to witness what it cannot share, but might have shared and turned into happiness. Oh, woe is me.
You are fettered. Tell me why.
I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link, yard by yard, and wore it of my own free will. Is the pattern strange to you? Or would you know the weight and length of the strong coil you bear yourself? It was as long and heavy as my own 7 Christmas Eves ago. You have labored on it since. Oh, it is a ponderous chain.
Jacob, old friend, please speak comfort to me.
Oh, I have none to give. I have little time. I cannot rest. I cannot linger anywhere. My spirit never walked beyond the narrow limits of our money-changing establishment.
But you always were a good man of business, Jacob.
Business? Humankind was my business. The common welfare was my business. Charity, mercy, forbearance, and benevolence were all my business. The dealings of my trade were but a drop of water in the comprehensive ocean of my business. Oh, why did I walk through crowds of fellow beings with my eyes turned down? Hear me, my time is nearly done.
I will, Jacob, but don't be too hard on me.
I am here to warn you that you have yet a chance of escaping my fate, a chance I have procured for you, Ebenezer.
You always were a good friend, Jacob. Thank you.
You will be visited by 3 spirits.
Is that the chance you mentioned?
Yes, it is.
Oh, well, then I think I'd rather not.
Without their visits, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Expect the first tonight when the bell tolls 1.
Can't they all come at once and have it over with, Jacob?
Expect the second when the bell strikes 2. The third when the last stroke of 3 has ceased to vibrate. Look to see me no more, and for your sake, take care that you remember what has passed between us.
'Tis nothing. 'Tis nothing at all. Bah! Humbug!
Ebenezer Scrooge!
Scene 3, the bedroom. And so Scrooge lay in his bed and thought it over, and could make nothing of it. The more he thought, the more perplexed he was, and the more he endeavored not to think, the more he thought. Marley's spirit bothered him exceedingly. Every time he resolved within himself that it was all but a dream, his mind flew back again like a strong spring released to its first position, and presented the same problem to be worked all through. Was it a dream or not? Scrooge lay in this state until the chime had gone 3/4 past midnight, when he remembered on a sudden that the ghost had warned him of a visitation when the bell tolled 1. He resolved to lie awake until the hour was past, and, considering that he could no more go to sleep than go to heaven, this was perhaps the wisest resolution in his power. The quarter was so long that he was more than once convinced that he must have sunk into a doze unconsciously and missed the clock. At length, it broke upon his listening ear.
Ha! The hour itself, and nothing else.
Ebenezer! Ebenezer Scrooge!
Oh! Are you the spirit whose coming I was told about?
I am.
Who and what are you?
I am the spirit of Christmas past.
Long past?
No, your past.
Perhaps you could turn down that light that accompanies you?
What? Would you so soon put out the light I give? Yours are the dark passions that would extinguish the light of truth.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend. What brings you here?
Your welfare, of course. That is why I appear.
I can't think of anything more conducive to my welfare than a night of uninterrupted sleep.
Your reformation, then. Take heed. Rise and walk with me.
The ghost clasped him gently by the arm. The grasp, though gentle as a woman's hand, was not to be resisted. Scrooge suddenly realized that they were now outside and standing upon an open country road. The city had entirely vanished. The darkness and the mist had vanished with it, for it was a clear, cold winter day with snow upon the ground. Scene 4, the outdoors.
Ebenezer, do you recognize this place?
Good heaven! I was bred in this place. I was a boy here.
Your lip is trembling. And what is that upon your cheek?
But what? Nothing. It must be a pimple. Lead me where you would, spirit.
Do you remember the way, Ebenezer?
Remember it? I could walk it blindfolded.
Strange that you've forgotten it for so many years. It is Christmas, Ebenezer. All that you see are merely shadows of the things that have been. They are not aware of us.
All seems deserted.
The school is not so. A solitary young man, neglected by his friends and family, is left there still.
His mother is dead. His father holds him a grudge.
Why does his father hold him a grudge?
My mother died giving birth. My birth. My father grew more morose ever after.
Weep for the boy if the tears will come.
He has his friends, even on this day. Friends from his beloved books.
But not a real child to talk to, not a living person.
Robinson Crusoe, not real. And Friday, the parrot, green body and yellow tail, not real. It may do, this boy. Look, look, there is dear Fan.
Watch and listen.
Dear brother,
Fan,
I have come to bring you home, dear brother.
home, little Fan?
Yes, home for good and all. Father is much kinder than he used to be. He was in a pleasant mood just the other night, so I was not afraid to ask him once more if you might come home. And he said, yes, you should. And he sent me to bring you.
Home. You've grown, little Fan.
And you are to be a man now, brother, and never come back here. Come along. We mustn't keep father waiting.
Father is here.
Your sister was a frail creature and often ill, but she had a large heart.
So she had. You're right about that, Spirit. I'll not contradict it, God forbid.
Ebenezer, look who it is. Look who it is.
Father.
There, boy. Stand still now. Let me have a look at you. Well, they haven't been overfeeding you, that's for certain.
I've grown.
Yes, I suppose boys do. Fan has told you you won't be moving back here.
Yes, sir.
It's time you made your way in this world. I have arranged an apprenticeship for you. You will move into Mr. Fezziwig's establishment in 3 days' time.
3 days, Father? Well, I'd hope to have my brother home for longer.
Longer? 3 days is quite enough for the both of us, don't you think, Ebenezer?
Yes, sir. Quite long enough.
Very well, then. Now that is settled, come, Fan. Come, boy.
Fan pleaded for more time, but my father was a very stern man.
Your sister died a young woman, but she did have a child, as I recall.
Yes, a son, my nephew. His name is Fred Hollowell.
Your nephew, Ebenezer, who bears a strong resemblance to your sister.
Does he? I never noticed.
You never noticed? I sometimes think you have traveled your life with your eyes closed. Come along, Ebenezer. It is time to see another Christmas.
Scene 5, Fezziwig's workhouse. Although they had but that moment left the school behind them, they were now in the busy thoroughfares of a city. It was made plain enough by the dressing of the shops that here too it was Christmas time again. The ghost stopped at a certain warehouse door.
You know this place?
Know it? Was I not apprenticed here? Look. It's old Fezziwig, bless his heart. Fezziwig alive again. There's Dick Wilkins. We were the best of friends.
Oh, there. Ebenezer, Dick. No more to work tonight, me boys. It's Christmas Eve! Oh, clear all this nonsense away. Come on, all of you. We must make room. Life is too short for all work and no play. So I say, it's time for a party! Hilly-ho, Dick. Charge on, Ebenezer!
Every movable was packed off as if it were dismissed from public life forevermore. The floor was swept and watered, the lamps were trimmed, fuel was heaped upon the fire, and the warehouse was as snug and warm and dry and as bright a ballroom as you would desire to see upon a winter's night.
How long since you danced, Ebenezer?
A waste of time dancing.
You didn't think so then.
There was a reason then. Belle. So aptly named she was.
There's been a change in you, Ebenezer, since you came to Fezziwig's. You used to be so gloomy.
Well, I should warn you, Miss Bell, I am of a serious frame of mind.
I consider seriousness an admirable trait of character, but it can be overdone.
I shall take heed of your advice, ma'am. I shall go through life with a grin on my face.
Come along, you two. They're striking up another song. Oh, it's time enough to sample the punch when you're old and fat like me, eh? Ooh, I best partner in my wife before that young scamp goes dancing off with her. Oh, what a difference it makes, Ebenezer, to travel the rough road of life with the right female to help bear the burden. What a lucky man I am.
Shall we join the others, Ebenezer?
It would be my pleasure, Miss Bell.
Fezziwig, a silly man.
Silly? Why silly?
It's such a small thing to make these people feel so much gratitude and joy.
Small thing?
Is it not? After all, what did he do, this Fezziwig? Spent a few pounds on a party, danced like a monkey, beamed a big smile.
It isn't that, Spirit. Why, Mr. Fezziwig had the power to make us happy or unhappy. He could make our work pleasant or miserable just in the way he looked at us and in the way he addressed us. 1,000 such little things add up, you know, until the happiness he gave is as great as if it cost a fortune.
Come along, Ebenezer. My time grows short. Look, another Christmas Eve, delayed by the pressure of business. Do you remember?
No.
Again, Scrooge saw himself. He was older now, a man in the prime of life. He was not alone, but sat by the side of a fair young girl in a morning dress, in whose eyes there were tears, which sparkled in the light that shone out of the ghost of Christmas past. Scene 6, the outdoors.
Hello, Belle. I am sorry I am late.
I thought you might not come. I know how busy you are.
Well, this time of year and the nature of my business, it is important that I use my time wisely.
I know it means very little to you. Another idol has displaced me. And if it can make you as happy as I would have tried to do, I have no reason to cry.
What idol has displaced you?
A golden one.
Well, now there's a double standard for you. All the world speaks so vehemently against poverty, yet it condemns the pursuit of wealth just as harshly.
You fear the world too much, Ebenezer. All your other hopes have merged into the one hope of eluding the disdain of others. I've seen your nobler virtues fall away, one by one, until nothing is left but one master passion, the pursuit of profit. It consumes you.
What then? Even if I have grown wiser and more astute, I haven't changed my feelings toward you.
Oh, Ebenezer, our promise to one another is an old one. We made it when we were young and poor, and happy to remain so until we could improve our fortune together by patience and hard work. But you've changed. You're not the same man. I release you, Ebenezer. You may feel sad now, but I've no doubt that you will dismiss the thought of me very soon, as if you were glad to have awakened from an unprofitable dream. I let you go with a full heart. May you be happy in the life you have chosen. Goodbye, Ebenezer.
I almost went after her.
Almost carries no weight, especially in matters of the heart. And you did have a heart, didn't you, Ebenezer? Why didn't you follow her?
My father, when he died, left me a small inheritance. Belle wished to be married, insisting that we could get along on very little, but I wanted something more for the both of us. So I went out and laid the foundations for a financial success, which I have achieved, I might add.
Congratulations.
I'll thank you not to sneer. Spirit, show me no more. Conduct me home. Why do you enjoy torturing me?
I told you, these are shadows of the things that have been, that they are what they are. Do not blame me.
Well, as for you, I'm quite tired of these pictures from the past. Leave me. Haunt me no longer. I can bear no more. No more.
This is the light of the truth, Ebenezer. You cannot hide from the truth.
As the ghost light grew, Scrooge dropped to his knees and threw up his hands to shield his eyes from its intensity. After a moment, Scrooge withdrew his hands and found that he was alone, and in his bedroom once again. Conscious of being exhausted and overcome by an irresistible drowsiness, he barely had time to tumble into bed before he sank into a deep sleep. He was awakened when his clock struck the hour of 2, but the soft chime of his bedside clock was replaced by the piercing sound of bells, the likes of which would have rivaled a team of 4 draft horses bedecked for the winter season, and was accompanied by hearty and almost booming laughter that seemed to descend upon Scrooge from every direction at once. Scene 7, the bedroom.
Scrooge! Ebenezer Scrooge! Come here and know me, man. I am the spirit of Christmas present. You have never seen the likes of me before, eh?
No, it's quite true. I have not.
You've never walked forth with any of my elder brothers born in these later years?
No, I don't think I have. Have you had many brother spirits?
More than 1,800.
A tremendous family to provide for.
Take hold of my robe, Ebenezer Scrooge.
Where, pray tell, are we going?
You will see. Touch my robe.
Scrooge did as he was told, and the room around them vanished instantly. They now stood under a gloomy sky in city streets that were choked up with a dingy mist, half thawed and half frozen. As Scrooge surveyed his new surroundings, the ghost pointed him toward a 4-roomed house. Scene 8, the Cratchit house.
What day is it now?
Don't you know? It's Christmas morning. Do you see this house?
I can't say I do.
Do you not know 'tis the house of Bob Cratchit?
Is it? It does very well on 15 shillings.
Shall we go in?
I wouldn't want to disturb them.
As with Christmas past, we shall be invisible and unheard.
Whatever has got your precious father then, and your brother Tiny Tim? And Martha wasn't this late last Christmas by half an hour.
Here I am, Mother.
Oh, Martha, how late you are.
We had a great deal of work to finish at the milliner's last night and a great deal to clear away this morning.
Well, never mind. You're home now. Sit down and warm yourself, dear.
Father will be home any minute. Hide, Martha, hide.
So Martha hid herself, and in came Bob, his threadbare clothes darned up and brushed to look seasonable, and Tiny Tim upon his shoulder. Tiny Tim bore a little crutch and had his limbs supported by an iron frame.
But you're late, Bob Cratchit, and you're quite as cold as an icicle, Tim.
Well, Father had a long talk with the minister.
I thought as much.
Yeah, but where's Martha?
Oh, she won't be coming for Christmas this year, I'm afraid.
What? Not coming for Christmas?
Oh, here I am, Father.
Oh, there she is.
Come, Tim, come hear the pudding singing over the fire.
It's like a giant snake inside a copper.
And did little Tim behave himself?
He did. As good as gold and better. Somehow he gets thoughtful sitting by himself so much and thinks the strangest things you ever heard. He told me coming home that he hoped the people saw him in the church because he was a cripple, and it might be pleasant for them to remember on Christmas Day who made lame beggars walk and blind men see. But he's getting stronger every day. I just know it.
Yes, Bob, I'm sure you're right. He is getting stronger. Mother, help me with the goose.
Yes, Mother.
There's such a goose, Father, such you've never seen.
Peter, I have some good news for you. I met by chance this morning in church a fine gentleman by the name of Fred Hollowell. He is a nephew of Mr. Scrooge. He remembered that I have a son coming of working age, and he told me that he has a position opening at 3 shillings and 6 pence a week.
3 shillings and 6 pence every week?
So, if you are agreeable, you would start on Wednesday next.
Oh, now I can help you and Mother.
Well, help or not, you shall be embarking on a fine career.
To start a boy at 3 shillings and 6 pence a week. Well, that's just like my nephew. No wonder he has never been able to put by a penny.
Perhaps he has put by more than money.
Fred, he is doing this to spite me, I promise you. To hire the son of my employee at an exorbitant wage.
Oh, it's such a goose.
Just smell the sage and onion.
Mother outdid herself this year.
We got it for a good price, Father. It wasn't expensive at all.
It's a very small goose.
It's all Bob Cratchit can afford.
Oh, Merry Christmas to us all, my dears.
And God bless us, everyone.
I had no idea Cratchit had a crippled son.
I wonder why.
Tell me, Spirit, will the boy live?
I see a vacant chair, a vacant seat at his table, and a crutch without an owner, carefully preserved. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the child will die.
No, that cannot be. Say he will be spared.
If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, none other of my race will find him here. But what difference does it make? If he is likely to die, then let him die and decrease the surplus population.
You use my own words against me.
Yes, so that in the future, perhaps you will hold your tongue when you have discovered what the surplus population is and where it is. Who are you to decide who shall live and who shall die? It may be that in the sight of heaven, you are more worthless and less fit to live than millions like this poor man's child. All right, one more ceremony before we go. Yeah, look.
And now, dear ones, a toast. I give you Mr. Scrooge, the founder of our feast. Mr. Scrooge.
The founder of our feast, indeed. I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon, and I hope we'd have a good appetite for it.
Oh, my dear, the children, Christmas Day.
It should be Christmas Day, when one would drink the health of such an odious, stingy, hard, unfeeling man as Ebenezer Scrooge. No one knows it better than you, Bob.
Oh, my dear, have a little charity.
Oh, all right then. I'll drink to his health for your sake and for the day's sake, but not for his. Long life to him, a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I've no doubt he'll be very merry indeed and very happy.
To Mr. Scrooge.
To Mr. Scrooge.
Mr. Scrooge.
To Mr. Scrooge.
Well, he has a point, Bob Cratchit. Without me, there would be no feast.
Is that all you have learned? Observing this family on Christmas Day? Oh, very well. We have some time left.
As before, Scrooge touched the ghost robe and their current location faded away. Scrooge found himself over the open sea in the dark abyss of night. It was a great surprise to Scrooge, while thus engaged, to hear a hearty laugh. As they grew nearer to the source, Scrooge recognized it as his own nephew's ever cheerful disposition. Act 2, Scene 1, the Hollowell home.
Where are we now?
Just a street? Any street? Oh, this house. Here, we'll go in here. It might amuse you.
I'm in no mood to be amused.
He said that Christmas is a humbug. He believed it too.
More shame for him, Fred.
He's really a comical old fellow, and not so pleasant as he might be. However, his offenses carry their own punishment, and I have nothing to say against him.
I'm sure he's very rich, Fred. At least you always tell me so.
But his wealth is of no use to him, my dear. He doesn't do any good with it. He doesn't even make himself comfortable with it. And I sincerely doubt he would ever consider benefiting us with it.
You mean I don't squander it and you find that comical?
Ah, you mustn't argue with those we encounter. It is quite useless, not to mention tactless.
Tact is a quality I despise.
Ah, that I can see.
Well, I have no pity for him.
Oh, but I have, and I feel sorry for him.
Sorry for me?
Who suffers by his ill whims? Himself, always. And he takes it in his heart to dislike us, and he won't come and dine with us. The reason I take such pains with him is because of my mother, God rest her soul, was very fond of him. She loved him.
That's true. Fan loved me, and I her. Dear Fan, I wish you were alive today.
Fred looks very much like her.
Yes, I've been reminded of that just recently.
I was just going to say that consequences of him not liking us are that he loses some pleasant moments, which could do him no harm, really. I mean to give him the chance every year, whether he likes it or not.
And every year he will say, Christmas, a humbug.
Oh, well, Uncle Scrooge has given us plenty of merriment, I'm sure, and it would be ungrateful of us not to drink to his health. So here's to Uncle Scrooge.
Uncle Scrooge.
I would normally take offense at such tasteless banter and laughter at my expense. However, in view of the general gaiety of the occasion, I'm inclined to overlook it.
Oh, well, now that is quite noble of you.
It was a long night, if it were only a night, but Scrooge had his doubts of this because the Christmas holidays appeared to be condensed into the space of time they passed together.
Well, time has come for me to leave you, Ebenezer Scrooge.
Leave me? Leave me here?
Oh, yes.
Oh, you cannot. Take me back to my bed.
It's too late.
It's cold. This place is strange to me. Please don't leave me. Spirit, 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 I wish to talk. Spirit, have pity on me. Don't leave me. What have I done to be abandoned like this?
Scrooge collapsed to the floor in a near exhaustive heap. He shook his head as he buried his face in his gnarled hands. Scene 2, the darkness. As Scrooge heard the third strike of the hour begin to fade, he lifted his hands and beheld a solemn phantom, draped and hooded, coming like a mist along the ground towards him.
I take it that I'm in the presence of the spirit yet to come?
You are.
You are about to show me the shadows of things that have not happened, but will happen the time before us. Is that not so, Spirit?
It is.
Oh, Spirit, I fear you more than any specter I have seen. Will you not say more?
Perhaps.
Well, very well. Very well. Lead on then. The night is passing fast, and it is precious time to me. Lead on, Spirit.
The phantom moved away, and Scrooge followed in the shadow of its dress. They scarcely seemed to enter the city, for the city rather seemed to spring up about them and encompass them of its own act. The spirit stopped beside one little knot of businessmen.
Do you know these people?
Of course I know these people and this place. It is the stock exchange. It's a second home to me.
No, I don't know anything about it either way, really. I only know he's dead.
When did he die?
Last night, I believe.
Why? What was the matter with him? I thought he'd never die.
Oh, God knows, really.
Well, what has he done with his money?
Oh, I haven't heard. Left it with his company, perhaps. I only know he hasn't left it to me.
Well, it's likely to be a cheap funeral. I don't know anybody who would go to it. Suppose we make up a party and volunteer.
Well, I don't mind going if lunch is provided, but I must be fed for all the trouble it's worth.
Well, it matters little to me either way. I never wear black gloves, and I never eat lunch. But I'll offer to go if anyone else will. Well, off to business. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Have these people no sense of decency or decorum? Spirit, what is this? Why am I seeing this?
The spirit did not speak, but only pointed in the opposite direction. As Scrooge turned around, he was comforted for a moment at the sight of his own domestic staff, dutiful and loyal as ever, or so he thought.
Isn't this something, Joe? All of us met here without meaning it.
You couldn't have met in a better place. Come in and sit down here. Don't be shy. We're all suitable to our calling. We're well matched, to be sure. Yeah, come in.
What odds then? What odds, Mrs. Dilber? Every person has the right to take care of themselves. He always did.
That's true indeed. No man more so.
Well then, don't stand staring as if you was afraid, woman. Who's the wiser? We're not going to pick holes in each other's coats, I suppose.
No, indeed.
We should hope not.
Very well then. Who's the worse for the loss of a few things like these? Not a dead man, I suppose.
No, indeed.
If he wanted to keep him after he was dead, a wicked old screw, why wasn't he more natural in his lifetime? If he had been, he'd have had somebody to look after him when he was struck with death, instead of lying, gasping out his last there, all alone by himself.
It's the truest word that ever was spoke, Mrs. Oliver. It's a judgment on him.
I wish my own offering was a little heavier. It should have been, you can count on it, if I could have laid my hands on anything else. Now, open Mr. Tackleton's bundle, old Joe, and let us know if it's any value to you. Speak out plain. We knew pretty well what we were helping ourselves to before we met here, I believe. It's no sin to see to one's livelihood.
Mr. Tackleton has been a very busy man. Let's see here. A seal, a pencil case, a pair of sleeve buttons. I'll give you £1.8 and not another sixpence if I was to be bored for not doing it. Yeah, who's next? Quite a stash, Mrs. Dilber. Of course, I always I give a little too much to the ladies. It's a weakness of mine, and that's the way I ruin myself. Yeah, £3, Mrs. Dilber. £3 even. If you asked me for another penny and made it an open question, I'd repent of being so liberal and knock off half a crown.
And now, undo my bundle, Joe. I was the first.
And what do you call these, eh? Bed curtains?
Yes, bed curtains.
God, blimey. You don't mean to say you took them down, rings and all, with him just a-lying there?
And why not? He wasn't apt to catch his cold without 'em, I dare say.
Oh, I hope he didn't die of anything catching, eh?
Don't you be afraid of that. I wasn't so fond of his company that I'd loiter about if he did.
And you may look at that shirt till your eyes ache, but you won't find a hole in it, nor a threadbare place. It's the best he had, and a fine one too. They'd have wasted it if it hadn't been for me.
What do you call wasting it?
Why, putting it on him to be buried in, to be sure.
Oh, yeah, £4, 6 shillings and 2 pence, and not a penny more if I was to be boiled for it.
And now this is how it ends. He scared everyone away from him when he was alive to profit us when he was dead.
Spirit, this is a fearful place. Surely there can be no reason to bring me to this God-forsaken part of the city, except that the case of this unhappy man might be my own. Yes, the items they have stolen or similar to mine. I see the point, Spirit. I demand to be shown some tenderness connected with the death.
Scene 3, the Cratchit home. The ghost conducted him through several streets familiar to his feet, and as they went along, Scrooge looked here and there to find himself, but nowhere was he to be seen. They entered poor Bob Cratchit's house, the dwelling they'd visited before, and found the mother and the children seated around the fire. Quiet, very quiet. The noisy little Cratchits were as still as statues in one corner, and sat looking up at Peter, who had a book before him.
And he took a child and set him in the midst of them, and he said to them, "Whenever you welcome a little child, you welcome me."
Candlelight. It makes my eyes weak, and I wouldn't show weak eyes to your father when he comes home, not for the world. It must be near his time.
Past it rather, Mother, but I think he's walked a little slower than he used to these past few evenings.
Yes. Now I've known him to walk with Tiny Tim upon his shoulder very fast indeed.
And so have I.
And so have I.
But he was very light to carry, and his father loved him so that it was no trouble at all. Is that your father now?
The Spirit. The boy. Where's the boy?
Hello, my dears. I went by there today, is why I'm late. I wish you could have been there. It would have done you good to see how green it is. But you'll see it often. I promised him that I would walk there every Sunday to visit him, you see. But guess who I saw today? Fred Hollowell, Mr. Scrooge's nephew. I met him on the street. He saw that I was a little sad, and, well, he is the most pleasant-speaking man you ever heard, and so I was not afraid to tell him. And this is what he said to me. "I am heartily sorry, Mr. Cratchit, heartily sorry." And he pledged to be of any service he could to us. He even gave me his card and said I should call on him at home. But it's not for the sake of anything he might be able to do for us, so much as his kind way, that I am thankful. It really seems as if he had known our Tiny Tim and felt with us. I'm sure none of us will ever forget poor Tiny Tim, shall we?
No, never, Father.
And I know, my dears, that when we remember how patient and mild he was, although he was a little child, we shall not quarrel among ourselves and forget our Tiny Tim in doing it.
No, we won't, Mother, never.
Scene 4, the graveyard.
I asked for tenderness and depth of feeling, and you showed me that. There's nothing more I need to see. Take me home.
The Spirit placed his hands on Scrooge's shoulders and turned him. In an instant, Scrooge was shocked to find himself not within his bedchambers, but instead within a graveyard. With the events of his recent travels still fresh in his mind, fear began to envelop him.
Spirit, something tells me that the moment of our parting is at hand. I know it, but I don't know how. Tell me, the man who was spoken of, the one who died, tell me who he was.
Cast your eyes upon the stone.
Before I draw nearer to that stone to which you point, answer me one question. Are these the shadows of things that will be, or are they the shadows of things that may be?
Is the inscription in the stone, or merely upon it, you mean?
The course of a man's life, if persevered in, will determine certain ends. I accept it. But if he departs from those courses, the ends must change. Say it so with what you show me.
It is not I who determines the course of another.
Oh, no, it can't be. Am I that man? Am I the man who died, who no one mourned? Say it isn't so, Spirit. Say it isn't so, Spirit. Spirit, hear me. I am not the man I was. I will not be the man I must have been, but for your intervention. Why show me this if I am past all hope?
Look upon the stone.
Surely your nature intercedes for me and pities me. Assure me that I may yet change these shadows you have shown me by a changed life. Oh, God. I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year. I will remember the lessons of the past. I will live in the present. I will live toward the future. The spirits of all three will strive within me. I will not shut out the lessons that they teach. Oh, tell me that I may sponge away the writing on this stone.
Scene 5, the bedroom. Holding up his hands in a last prayer to have his fate reversed, he saw an alteration in the phantom's hood and dress. It shrunk, collapsed, and dwindled down into a bedpost. Yes, and the bedpost was his own. The bed was his own. The room was his own. Best and happiest of all, the time before him was his own, in which he could make amends.
Where am I? Wait. What day is this? Is it morning? But what day? How long have I been with the spirits? I don't know, but I'm alive. I'm alive. The bed curtains are still here. They're not torn down. They are here. I am here. Whoa! I don't know what to do. I feel light as a feather. Light as a feather. I'm as happy as an angel. I'm as merry as a schoolboy. Wait. Hello, you boy. What day is it? Wait. Don't be afraid, my boy. Don't be afraid. What day is it?
What day is it?
Yes. What day is it today?
Why, it's Christmas Day.
Christmas Day? Are you sure, my good fellow?
I should say I am.
Then the spirits have done it all in one night. Why, of course they can do anything they like. Of course they can. Hello, my fine fellow.
Hello.
Do you know the poulterers in the next street but one at the corner?
I should hope I did.
Oh, what a wonderful boy. A remarkable boy. Do you know whether they've sold the prize turkey that was hanging up there?
What? The one as big as me?
What a delightful boy. A pleasure talking with him. Yes, my boy, the one as big as you.
It's hanging there now.
It is? Why, then you must go and buy it. Yes, go now and buy it.
What, me?
Oh, no, I really do mean it. Go and buy it and tell them to bring it round so that I may give them direction where to deliver it. Come back with the man and I'll give you a shilling. Come back with him in less than 5 minutes and I'll give you half a crown.
Yes, sir.
I'd send it to Bob Cratchit. He won't know who sent it. I won't tell him. It's twice the size of Tiny Tim. Tiny Tim. Tiny Tim will live. On my word, Tiny Tim will live. They did it all in one night. The spirits of Christmas past, present, and future shall thrive within me. Oh, heaven and Christmas time be praised for this. I say it on my knees, dear Lord. On my knees. Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy New Year to all the world.
Scrooge was swimming in a myriad of emotion. Reeling from the events of the night, he took to the streets and merrily greeted everyone he passed. As Scrooge turned a corner, he came upon Mr. Jeeves and Mr. Hollowell, the solicitors from the previous day.
Oh, my dear sir, how do you do? I hope you did well yesterday. It was a very good thing to do, a very good thing.
Mr. Scrooge?
Yes. Oh, that is my name. I fear it isn't pleasant to you. Allow me to ask your forgiveness. Oh, and yours too, sir.
Yes, sir.
And will you have the goodness to accept
Lord bless me! My dear Mr. Scrooge, are you quite serious?
If you please, and not a farthing less. A great many back payments are included in it, I assure you. Will you do me that favor?
My dear sir, I don't know what to say to such generosity.
Don't say anything, please. Come and see me sometime. Will you come and see me, the both of you?
We will, sir.
Of course we will.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm much, much obliged to you. I thank you 50 times. Bless you both. And a Merry Christmas.
Scene 6, the Hollowell home. Would you believe it if I told you that Scrooge went to church that day? He did, and walked about the streets and watched the people hurrying to and fro, and patted children on the head as they passed, and questioned beggars, and looked down into the kitchens of houses and up to the windows, and found that everything could yield him pleasure. He never dreamed that any walk, that anything at all, could give him so much happiness. In the afternoon, he turned his steps toward his nephew's house.
Oh, Fred, it's beautiful. And it's too much, Fred. You shouldn't have spent so much.
But I love you, my dear, and my wife shall have the very best on Christmas Day.
Oh, Fred, I love you so, but not just for this.
I know, my dear, I know.
Oh, now who can that be?
I don't know. No one's expected at this hour.
Hello, Fred.
Uncle Scrooge!
The very same. It is I, your Uncle Scrooge. I recall an invitation you made to me yesterday to come and dine with you. If that invitation is still in force, I should like to accept.
Why, I don't know what to say.
Well, you could say, bah, humbug, a retort I heartily repent of and shall never use again. Or you could say, come in.
Come in? Why, of course you shall come in. Hurrah, Uncle Scrooge, you have made us both very happy. Oh, may I introduce my wife, Janet? Janet, my Uncle Scrooge.
Oh, my dear. It is plain to me now why my nephew chose you among women. You are indeed every bit as lovely as I have heard.
Why, thank you, Uncle Scrooge. We are very happy you are here.
Oh, yes. Dear nephew, I'm sorry for the things I said about Christmas. And I'm sorry for the poor reception I gave you yesterday, of which you were so undeserving. I do see the image of my sister in your face. I loved her, you know, and she you.
I know it, Uncle Scrooge. She loved you very much and wished until her dying day that we should always be close.
And so we are, Fred. And so we shall be. So we shall be.
Scene 7, the counting house. It was a wonderful party, wonderful games, wonderful unanimity, wonderful happiness. But Scrooge was early at the office the next morning. Oh, he was early there. If only he could be there first and catch Bob Cratchit coming late. That was the thing that he had set his heart upon. And he did it. Yes, he did. The clock struck 9 and no Bob. 1/4 past, no Bob. He was a full 18 minutes and a half behind his time before he opened the door.
Mr. Cratchit.
Morning, sir.
Mr. Cratchit, you are late, sir.
Oh, yes, sir.
What do you mean by coming here at this time of day?
Oh, I am very sorry, sir. I am behind my time.
Yes, I think you are. Step this way, if you please, Mr. Cratchit.
Oh, it's only once a year, sir. It shall not be repeated. I was making rather merry yesterday with my family.
Now, I'll tell you what, my friend. I'm not going to stand for this any longer, and therefore, I'm going to double your salary. That's right, Bob Cratchit. I'm going to double your salary, sir, and a Merry Christmas to you. A merrier Christmas than I have given you for many a year. And from now on, I will endeavor to assist your family in any way I can. And as for Tiny Tim will walk again. I know it. Now, you needn't say a thing, not a thing. Just come with me. We will discuss the particulars over a bowl of smoking bishop before you can so much as dot another I, Bob Cratchit.
Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good a friend, as good a master, and as good a man as the good old city knew. And ever afterward, it was always said of Ebenezer Scrooge that he knew how to keep Christmas and keep it well if any man alive possessed the knowledge. May that be truly said of us and all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed,
God bless us, everyone.
on behalf of Smithfield Little Theatre and the cast and crew, we thank you for watching, and we wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.